welcome to the Open Mic Diary. My name is Indra Adele, and you have just stepped into a safe space. Just like in a diary entry, in this space, I am free to be my most authentic self, be vulnerable and honest about my feelings and emotions, and give you a front row seat to my various life experiences, my challenges, my victories, ups, downs, laughter, tears, and everything in between. I'm turning my healing journey into our healing journey. And honestly, this is not your traditional podcast. This space is free flowing, hence the name Open Mic Diary. So expect anything. If you have not already, please go listen to the Allow Me to Introduce Myself episode so you have more context to me and the style of this podcast. Episodes, for the most part, will be uploaded in batches, but outside of that, I may decide to spontaneously upload episodes individually. So please make sure that you follow, subscribe, and have your notifications on so that you will always know when I post a new episode. I pray that my authenticity and my vulnerability in this episode blesses you in some way. There were days where I was so burnt out that I would just find myself sitting on the floor, holding my baby, just zoned out crying because I was so drained and overwhelmed and tapped out of just me, like just disconnected from myself. And just having a very dissociative experience where I feel like I am outside of my body. Just the days are running into each other. And I'm just surviving, right? Like, pouring so much into this little being that needs so much. And I'm suffering, right? Like, I'm enjoying the mothering part of it. I'm enjoying pouring into my baby, but I'm not enjoying not pouring into me. I'm not enjoying the deficit that is growing more and more vast as I don't prioritize myself. And sure, when you have babies, especially newborns, small babies, right? Like, there is a season where some of that is inevitable, right? It just kind of comes with the territory, right? But I would love to believe that even in today's modern way of doing things, that we can still have community so that mamas can have breaks. They can rest. They can complete a meal without it being interrupted. They can go pee or take a shower, right? Like, without having to rush through it, There was a time where just mothers had a village. They had family. They had their mother and their aunts and their, to like help raise that child. It wasn't just a solo experience. And so I think that motherhood burnout has become more prevalent because the concept of just having that village has slipped away, right? Like, and for some, it's non-existent. And we don't have help, especially us mothers that chose to stay home with our babies and stop working, or maybe work part-time, or like run a side business and be home with our babies, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, baby mothers that send their kids to daycare, there's still an element of that, right? Like, where you're working, maybe pumping to send milk to daycare for your baby, and even just that whole concept, like mothers not having the appropriate amount of just leave after they have a baby, to just like exhale, right? Like you just birthed a whole human and you're rushing back to work. It's like just the American society and how we navigate motherhood, just from pregnancy onward, is just very unhealthy, right? It doesn't set us up to have a healthy nervous system, to be healthy emotionally, mentally, physically, right? It sets us up for burnout, for being drained, and for just losing our sense of self, right? And ending up with an identity that is very much rooted in our children. And then our children get older and they find their own, interests and things outside of us, right? Or they move off to college and then we're there like, well, damn, who am I? Because my whole identity was wrapped up in my children and now they're not here and I don't know what to do with myself. And then now you're depressed and now you're, you know what I mean? Now you're spiraling mentally because you didn't know who you were for the entire however many years that this child was the center of your world. And it's devastating, right? And then now you're in a crisis. And so I've decided, after having certain experiences and navigating motherhood a certain way, that I just desire to have a different experience. Like at some point I was like, no, I can be an excellent mother, a present mother, right? Like just really in there with my kids, and I can be really in there with me too. Like my identity exists. Like it's not this thing that was there and then just like, whoop, throw it in the trash. Now that the kids showed up, now it's all about them. There's a lot of things that are all about them. And there are times where it seems like it's all about them, because there are times where it is all about them. But it's all about us too. And like, we have purpose. We were not designed to be disconnected from ourselves and who we are, right? And so I believe that just this journey of being grounded in me while also showing up in a magnificent way for my children is how I want to live my life, right? And I've figured out ways to accommodate that. And so, yeah, I want to talk more about just what that can look like, right? Because for me, I'm now a single mother, and how it looks for me now is different from how it would have looked if I was still married, right? And so I know that there are people listening who are single mothers, who are married mothers, right? Who are mothers who maybe are divorced and then are now in a relationship, or like, right? There's these different dynamics, but either way, we can create time. And I don't mean create like add hours to the day, but it's like, I feel like sometimes when you ask people, hey, can you make the time for this? And then they look at everything in their schedule and they're like, no, I can't make the time because I have this and I have this and I have that and I have that. And whether it's for the kids or work or whatever, right? And it's like, there is no time for me time. And it's like, you can create the time. And you create the time from the time that's already there. By finding ways to move and shift things around, to create space for you, to create space for yourself, because it's quite possible. Initially, it might seem like it's impossible, but it's quite possible. And you can do that by prioritizing the things in your to-do on a day-to-day, right? In your calendar that are like non-negotiable. And then there's always things that are negotiable, right? There's always a way that we can move things around and shift things around to create space, even if it's like 5 minutes. That's starting somewhere. Because if you haven't had me time in years, 5 minutes of some me time, will be a breath of fresh air for you, right? I know from personal experience. Like, I remember there was a time when I was married where, like, I was so desperate for me time. And at the time, I asked my ex-husband, I was like, hey, can you just, Taj wasn't born yet, can you just take Kai for like 15 minutes? So I need some time in the morning. Like, I need you to help with his morning routine or whatever so that I can take that time. That 15 minutes felt like an hour. Like, it was like one of the highlights of my day. And it was 15 minutes, right? And so it's like, it doesn't have to start out being something grand, like, oh, you took this mega trip somewhere, and like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be that you took, and there were times where literally I would sit and do nothing because that's what I needed. I would just sit there and stare off into space and just kind of like mentally decompress. Then there were times where I might read, or I might pray, or I might do like a little devotional thing, or I might, do something with music, or I might write, right? It just depended on what I felt led to do that day, what I needed. And so the point is, like, we can prioritize ourselves as mothers, right? We can. We might have to get creative, but we can do it. And it's essential to fight for it because we need it. Like, we need it so that we can be the most grounded, healthiest version of ourselves, because that overflows into our motherhood and how we show up as a mother. How I'm able, the capacity that I have to just be patient. I'm not always patient, right? I'm not always patient because there are still times where I cuss my kids out on accident and then I have to apologize. But my capacity has grown tremendously. Like, my ability, because I'm not like on zero. I'm not on edge. I don't end up snapping at the slightest thing that they do, because kids are kids and they're going to be kids. They do things that us adults that are more mature, right? And have a more foundation of just knowledge and what to do and what not to do. Children are learning, right? And so they're bound to do things that rub us the wrong way because we know better and they don't. It's just how it is. And so it's like, if I'm always getting upset because my kid is being a kid, like, what type of experience does that create for my children? Right? That doesn't create a calm environment. It creates an anxious environment. Like, damn, mama's always snapping. You feel me? Like, what is going on? And so there's so many things which maybe I will talk more deeply about in a different entry, but like, I've just seen such a shift in just my capacity, how I'm able to show up even more intently. I think that's the word I wanted to use. Intentionally. I think that's more where I was going. I'm able to show up more intentionally with different things because I have a greater capacity, because my tank is not on negative 10,000. Right? Like, I actually have a full cup to give from. And my life looks a lot different navigating that way. So, personally, I've just seen so much fruit, and it's just caused me to become very passionate about like just having conversations with other mamas, because it's something that's so common, so prevalent. Like, so many of the other mothers that I talk to or that I'm friends with, like, there's just this constant like revolving story of just burnout and being tired and being drained and not having time, for themselves. And sometimes even with their spouse, there's an imbalance. And sometimes it's not malicious, right? It's not even that their spouse is like trying to like rob them of time. They just like, there's a lack of understanding of just the necessity of it. So it's not prioritized. And sometimes it's not necessarily anyone's fault, right? Now, sure, there may be spouses out there that are legit like problematic, right? But oftentimes it's just, it wasn't talked about as a priority and as a need, and being able to actually have a plan in place. And sometimes the mother feels so what's the word I'm looking for? So obligated to have to save the day for everything. that like she feels guilty. I felt that. Like I would feel guilty taking time to myself because I'm like, well, what if this happens and I'm not there? And what if this happened? And it's just like, you know, I had to create space when I was married for my spouse to show up, right? And be whatever my child needed when I wasn't there, right? Like versus me feeling like I had to be the one, like just I was so consumed with that it didn't even create space for me to prioritize myself. So anyways, long story short, I navigate my life differently, and it's, oh my gosh, brought me so much joy and happiness because I have more balance in my life. I have so much more balance in my life. And it's created a happier life for me.